What's up, everybody, and welcome back to HOA MMA. AJ, it's been a long week, hell of a week of fights.
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling,
man? Well, to be fair, I mean we already spoke about this just before we started recording, but just come out the cinema, so kind of still a bit pumped seeing Furiosa. It's a shame it came a few years too late, but it was a great film. I really enjoyed it a lot. George Miller is one of the best directors when it comes to action. Even like his ability to mixture minimum, like the bare minimum of dialogue, even though it's meaningful, with these vivid imagery along with these creative, spectacular action sequences. It's just like a marvel to see. So it was great. Because Fury Road is one of my favorite films ever. Furiosa was great. Yeah, do you know what? It's been an interesting week because my thoughts on the fights on the weekend have changed dramatically over the past 48 to 72 hours since. Because at the time of the fights, I was thinking one way, and then probably the first time since we've done this podcast, at least, my opinion, especially on the main event, has done a complete 180. There's a reason why I'll talk back into later on, but it's been a good week. It's been a very interesting week, I would say.
Okay. I'm interested to hear the transition and what took place to change your mind. AJ, let's get into it then. UFC 302. A solid fight card, not the best fight card, a solid fight card. It was, carried by pretty much 3 fights. The rest, so. A lot of decisions on the prelims and the early prelims that, sometimes that kind of like sets the crowd up for, a bunch of decisions. And we don't, and it kind of continued with Randy Brown, Nico Price, and then Kevin Holland with the nice submission. And then we get the decision submission. So the kind of flow, I don't think the excitement ever got peaked like it does on some other cards. Do you think that might have been part of it?
No, but I do definitely agree with you in the sense that there wasn't that moment. Do you know when it kind of when the blue paper kind of gets touched, it kind of gets lit, so to speak. There was a moment when the crowd explodes. There wasn't that moment. There wasn't that where things really got going. There was some really good performances in there. Kevin Holland breaking Michel's arm was absolutely like nasty, and Sean Strickland surprised me a lot in his performance. It's kind of linked to why I had changed my thoughts about this fight card in general. It was a solid card. I would say it's definitely one of the more underwhelming pay-per-views I've watched in a while. We're still kind of dealing with that post 300 fallout where there hasn't been a moment yet since 300 in any fight card or any pay-per-view, even though we've only had 2 since, that's really set the world alight. Yeah. If that makes sense. And
totally fair.
And it's probably going to be like that for a while, considering what's probably going to happen with 303 as well. It kind of just seems like, there is a bit of a lull in like excitement factor.
Yeah, no, I agree. There wasn't anything that really took this card to the next level in terms of outcomes, or there was some good fights. The main event was almost a great fight, I would say. It was bordering on, but there was nothing really to prop that up also. So I'm with you on that. We'll talk about UFC 303 at the end here, because that is some news that is breaking and, going to change over the next couple of days. Let's start at the beginning. I enjoyed the early prelims. I don't know what you got to see on that. I know with the time difference and everything, Andre Lima had some very, very nice kicks. I mean, that guy I do not respect him for his weight situation, but we don't know the whole story. But when you're that far over, it's kind of hard to justify. And Mitch Raposo is just a badass and still took the fight. I was surprised it was a split decision, but Lima got the win. Then Perez versus Edwards, they had a little bit of bad blood. They kind of squashed it at the end. Thought Perez fought a good fight. Her takedowns are really, really nice. Good control time. For somebody who's as famous for twerking as she is, she doesn't twerk very well, AJ. I know that's not really indicative of her fighting, but, maybe some work, if that's going to be your go-to celebration, maybe we improve a little bit. And then the fight that I enjoyed the most on the early prelims, AJ, Mickey Gall and Basil Hafez. That was a nice fight, man. I don't know what it is about Mickey Gall. He just doesn't do it for me, but that fight kind of changed my mind. He was in there, and he was battling his ass off. I thought it was a damn good fight for the early prelims. What were your thoughts on the early prelims?
Didn't really catch most of them because I was still kind of watching the boxing at the time. There was a big fight in Saudi. It's kind of really still kind of lingering along with that. It's kind of just purely just maybe just due to time.
Was that Wilder?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll I mean, we're gonna touch upon that a little bit later. But yeah. So which ironically the UFC because UFC it kind of when the MMA goes as far as the UFC goes. So
yes.
And ironically boxing had a really good night. But I did actually look back on some of the early prelims. Perez's fight I didn't see much of, so I can't really speak much onto that. I saw a bit of Basil Havez and Mickey Gall. It was a battle. It was two guys like Basil can throw down, and normally Mickey Gall would kind of fold on that kind of pressure, but he stood his ground, and that's something that you kind of have to commend him for. Andre Lima was probably the one that pressed me the most. It's just a shame that about the weight, like you have a contractual obligation to make weight. When you do miss weight and you're far off, it comes across as you're trying to get a physical advantage. It's not really fair on your opponent who has made weight, who's done everything on his end, and he's not fighting on an even playing field. But Andre Lima's fight style is very fun to watch. It's very Adesanya-esque, and which is something that I can appreciate, considering I'm actually like a big fan of obviously Izzy's, as everyone kind of knows at this point. But the early prelims were solid. I will definitely say that for sure. Yeah, so the early prelims as a whole, like again, I haven't watched the fights in full, but from what I saw, they were pretty interesting. But again, I wouldn't say it had like a wow factor for me.
Sorry, guys. Big storm coming. Had to let the dogs back in. AJ, appreciate you keeping us going there. Prelims. What fight stuck out to you, or was there a fight that stuck out to you at the prelims? I mean, I thought Almeida looked good, but I didn't see really any resistance for him. Dawson, I thought, fought a good fight. Joe Selecki was really out of his depth anywhere but when he was trying to grab a limb. I thought Jake Matthews fought a solid fight, but nothing really jumped off at me.
Yeah, I would say in terms of performance, I probably would say Almeida, because he has shown that he's this elite grappler. He's able to grab hands of. He's able to grab a hold of you. He can make make you pay to do that. Someone who's more than more bare wrestlers in the heavyweight division, which isn't saying much in Romanov. Even so, still very impressive for me, but it still kind of makes me worry in the sense that we're not going to see improvements in running out his game because he's still kind of really going towards plan A. There doesn't really seem to be a plan B. And against guys like Romanov, who really truly he should beat pretty easily, that will work. But for someone whose potential could be title challenger, maybe potential champion eventually, against those elite guys, if plan A doesn't work and you don't have plan B, C, D all the way to Z, that's kind of when he will become unstuck, and the more fights he has, people who are not as talented as him, who have power, who are able to able to catch him, they'll be able to make reads on him, and that's very dangerous if you're one dimensional. So, but yeah,
totally fair.
Jake Matthews fought. His fight was fun. I really enjoyed that. But again, those fights were cool. I just wasn't wowed. I just wasn't wowed, if I'm being honest.
You know who didn't wow me, and it still turned out to be a split decision, was Cesar Almeida. Roman Kopylov had no resistance anytime he tried to take him down. It just, there's got to be, I know he's a kickboxer, I know all that I know he's kind of late get into this, but there's got to be just some form of resistance when they're trying to take you down. And he just didn't have it. And Kopylov
I was more worried that Kopylov looked amazing in round one. He was so quick on his feet, and then it seems like rounds 2 and 3 he was wrestling because he was tired.
That's fair.
He looked very tired to me, and it felt like, okay, I'm kind of feel fatigued here. I'm facing against a kickboxer who's more than capable of lining me up on the feet as I basically start to decline in terms of output and in terms of energy. I'm literally just going to lever change now because he didn't really do much with the wrestling.
Yeah, he didn't know. He did not. But the fact that he could almost fall into a takedown is an issue. You know what I mean? There was no resistance even when I know Almeida was tired too, but there was just no level of resistance on what you're saying are desperation shots almost. I have to take him down here because I'm so worn out. And there was just no level of resistance there.
Get someone who's making a sixth MMA fight, and that kind of shows. Okay, I'm this elite kickboxer who's obviously fought in glory. I have this good background. You come into this fight knowing I know what you are all about. I can probably contend with you on the feet, and Kopylov showed that, but he got tired and thought, okay, this guy probably hasn't grappled as much as basically I have. Most times we see Kopylov put people away out on the feet because he knows he's better than them. He forgets someone who's equal to him but doesn't have the MMA experience. Yes. Just don't make it a kickboxing fight. Make it MMA. And again, it kind of just goes to show that, you know, maybe Almeida shouldn't be in against someone who's probably on the fringes of probably like a fight ago. We were talking about Kopylov being a future contender.
Yeah, we were. That's a great point.
So it kind of just goes to show that maybe look, there's no easy fights in the UFC, but maybe not putting at someone who's a bit more tenured, maybe giving a bit more of a 50-50 matchup.
Yep, that's fair. That's a great point. I'm sure his next fight will be more of a stand-up competition. All right, let's transition, AJ. Main card time. Randy Brown versus Dos Santos. I thought Randy Brown handled himself very well. I enjoyed the Randy Brown we saw. I know he got taken down 4 times, but it never felt like he was really in danger when he got taken down, and did a good job of getting back up. Was really outstriking Dos Santos in a major way, putting more damage on him. What did you think of this fight?
He was too quick. He was just too quick for him. Like, when Randy Brown's on, he's very fun to watch. He's very fun to watch. He's one of those long-rangey guys who's very tall for 170 pounds, who knows how to use it well. When he's faced against someone who is probably not at that elite level, like Randy Brown's kind of in between, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah. And he showed it. Santos had no answer for him on the feet whatsoever. He was getting touched at will. When every time he was able to he's able to close the gap on distance and was able to take him down. As you said, there wasn't much threat there. And once Randy Brown kind of knew, okay, I'm comfortable here. Like even if he does be able to take me down, I'm comfortable in knowing that I can kind of nullify any kind of threat.
Yes.
And I can eventually get myself back up. And it kind of showed, like, you kind of see that, Dos Santos was kind of feeling, okay, I really need to get him down and make it count, and maybe just control him. He wasn't able to do that, because you can tell every time the fight got back out on the feet, he was just getting touched up. It was a vintage performance for Randy Brown, but again, it kind of went how I thought that it would go.
Yeah.
So, but it was a fun performance more than a fun fight.
For sure. What did you think of his call out afterward? He called out. Well, it wasn't Neil Magny. It's oh crap. Who did he called out? I thought it was a good call out too, and now I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah,
Randy Brown, UFC 302.
I don't want to watch the fights after 3 a.m. After being out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes.
He called out. Why is it taking me so long to find this? Well, yeah, Jeff Neal. Sorry, Jeff Neal. I know him and Neil Magny. Sometimes I get them mixed up because they've been fighting so long. They're right in that same level. But it's a good call out. I thought Jeff Neal's a good call out.
It is a good call out, but I feel like Jeff Neal was a bit further along than Randy Brown, if that makes sense. Like Jeff Neal's
he's number 10, and he's number 10 welterweight right now. So in the rankings, it's not terrible, but I do know what you mean too.
Like to kind of get a fight like that, you really need to put like a string of wins together.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't think it was the most crazy call out. That was kind of why.
Don't basically get me wrong. If it gets announced that Randy Brown against basically Jeff Neal, that right there is a fun matchup, and that'd be something I'll definitely be looking forward to watch, because it's going to be mainly on the feet. Yep. Randy Brown, as he showed, he's very quick, he's very rangy. Jeff Neal, because of the height and reach disadvantage he'll have, he will definitely close a gap. He will definitely go in close. He's very aggressive and he has power in his hands. So that right there would be a fun matchup in terms of styles on the feet. But I just feel like, I feel Randy Brown's probably a fight or two away from getting a fight like that. And I feel Jeff Neal's probably either going to be fighting someone around his ranking, or someone who's a bit more surging is probably going to probably get that fight as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's, I just, in the moment I was like, okay, not bad. I don't feel like you're reaching too far, and you didn't call out anybody who, you couldn't have a decent match with. So next fight, Nico Price versus Alex Morano. Why the hell was this fight on the main card? This stunk. I mean, Alex Morano looked like he should have stopped fighting after the first round. He was done. He was so gassed after the first round. I know they fought before and Nico knocked him out. It just didn't feel like it should have been on the main card. But go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, because I was very confused when Almeida and Romanov were on the prelims, because I was kind of under the impression that Nico Price and Alex Morano would have flipped with Almeida, Romanov, especially because both of those guys are ranked,
Yeah.
So, and especially Almeida is still ranked quite decently high within the top 10 as well. It was a tough watch. I'll be honest. Nico Price, a couple of like years ago, he was very, very fun to watch. He's had highlight reel moments. The KO against James Vick kind of really is the one that kind of comes to mind. Alex Morano is one of those guys when he was on a run when he was beating names who were kind of a little bit past it, but against people who were better opposition out of the way and kind of a bit more in better form. They were really putting away fairly easily. Yeah, after round one, he did look done. His conditioning didn't look like it was in the best way. And
His stance was awful.
Yeah, and
straight legs, couldn't bounce around.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it's a good win for obviously Nico Price. It's kind of really been in rough form
Yeah.
at the moment. But if you're losing to a guy who got KO'd by Robbie Lawler in his final fight, definitely.
38 seconds in, I'll never forget it. Yeah, that one just it just felt out of place on the main card. Next, we got Kevin Holland breaking. Shoo, boy, that you got to be a different kind of person to not tap out before your arm gets broken, and I am impressed with that. But damn, was that brutal? Good for Kevin Holland. Good for getting back into the win column. Like he said, he is a gatekeeper. I know he is very talented, but that's what he is. He is the best gatekeeper in the UFC right now. Good fight, good win for him. I enjoyed it. It was good, Kevin Holland, but I don't know. Are you impressed that he beat this guy?
I was impressed with the fact that he made Michel's aggressiveness pay, because I remember last week when we were both breaking on the fight, I was saying that, Michel has a lot of first round finishes, so he kind of really goes for it very early, and he trusts his power. But with that, against spare opposition, if you're able to counter him, you can obviously make that pay. And he caught Kevin with a really good shot. It was more of a flash knockdown, because because if you look at Kevin's feet, he was a little bit off balance. He wasn't rocked. Like, he was definitely still there.
He immediately defended himself too on the ground.
Still there. You can tell that, he got caught, got buzzed, he got sat down, but his eyes were literally straight at him right away. Michel's thinking, okay, I've got him now. He really overcommits. Kevin's able to snatch his arm and break his arm.
Nice roll through too. He had a nice roll through, holding onto the arm.
Amazing roll through. And like, if you're someone of Kevin Hollinson's caliber in terms of jiu-jitsu, when you get someone's arm like that and you've got that cinched in, you are not letting that go. So in most cases, someone be smart to say, okay, I don't really want my arm to break, I'm going to tap. There are times when adrenaline kicks in and you're not really feeling it.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's also pride. Like, you don't want to be like, well, I don't want to lose. I may find a way to obviously grab out of this. You want to go in there and kind of like trust yourself as well. But I know that Michel's processing that, okay, I can still fight. There's a reason why when your arm's broken, they call it off, because if you're basically handicapped at that point. Like, you're fighting with one arm. You're in no condition to fight against a professional, world-class MMA fighter with literally one arm. You're literally setting yourself up for further damage. And at that point, once your arm's broken, you need that scene to immediately.
For sure.
So impressive win for Kevin Holland. It's kind of a good thing for him, big win on a pay-per-view. It's going to make a lot of people kind of forget about the MVP fight, which is kind of what he wanted. Because last time out, he did get embarrassed. Yeah. He's come back out now, really quick turnaround, good finish. One of the few finishes on the main card.
I think it was two finishes on the main card.
It's 1 or 2 finishes on the main card. He gets performance of the night bonus. He kind of races that. I would like him to go back down to 170 because he does look best. He does look better off there. But I feel like Kevin's at this point now where, like he said that he's the best gatekeeper in the company. It's kind of to a point where he's just going to fight whenever he can in these fun fights. He may not make a run towards contendership as he could if he really was to dial in, because he's still only 31. I think 30 or 31. So there is still time for him to kind of do that if he really was to dial in. But I think at this point now, he just wants to have fun fights and make as much money as he can, and that's fair. That's basically fine for him. All power to him. But it was a good win. But again, I expected that from him. So
yeah. Okay, question for you. like you said, we're looking for fun fights for Kevin Holland. What is the next fight for Kevin Holland you think that could be a fun one?
The Buckley rematch.
Ooh, I do like that. That's hell of a matchmaking job there. That's that perfect answer. AJ, next fight on the card: Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. When judging keeps coming up in these situations, nobody in their right mind pick Paulo Costa to win that fight. And we had a judge on this card pick him 49-46. That's embarrassing. We need to start holding these judges more accountable for what they're doing. In no world was this a split decision. In no world was this even close. That was embarrassing. I did want to state that before we got into it. But what do you thought about Sean Strickland? He just fights a good fight, a smart fight. He is always in control of where you're at in the octagon. He's always pushing forward, and it just builds and builds and builds, and then it's too late.
I underestimated how becoming champion can change a fighter, because he put on one of the best challenging performances against Izzy, one of the best upsets I've ever seen, a complete shutout. He went to war with Dricus last time out, and he nullified Costa. He literally nullified him. He used his jab really well. He knows how to. He's really good at deceptively building pressure, because you wouldn't see him as someone as you. If you would have fought in this fight, one person was to go out and walk down the other guy, you would just immediately think Costa, because Costa's he's so big, he has power in his hands. He kind of just looks like a Hulk. He looks like a behemoth in a way. You would have thought the bigger guy would have walked Sean Strickland down, but Sean Strickland's ability to use his jab and literally just leave it out there and build pressure and push people back, and to use his very awkward movement. Before you know it, you are going to find yourself against the cage, and that's when he kind of trusts himself to kind of unload a little bit more. And it just as you said, it just slowly builds and builds. And I feel part of it is in terms of who he is as well, because the way he talks in press fights, he talks as if, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have a war with you, where that isn't really
that's not what he's going to do.
That really isn't what he's going to do, unless it's someone like Dricus who kind of meets him in the middle, where he has to kind of go tit for tat for you. He's capable of obviously fighting in those trenches, so to speak, but obviously more time is just more like, I'm literally just going to wear on you. I'm just going to slowly I'm just going to slowly build pressure. I'm going to build volume later on as the rounds go. You're probably going to get tired before I do as well. That's going to give you opportunities, so on and so forth. I do feel that Costa should have really trusted himself a bit more, and maybe kind of just caution to the wind, and kind of say, okay, cool, I'm basically getting pushed back here. I'm bigger than him. Even if I don't land, if I throw 1-2 body kicks, closing the gap and just unload a little bit, even though it catches on arms, elbows, body, I may not catch him clean, he'll still feel it. I'll be able to push him back, and again, I'll level change on Sean. I'll probably try test his wrestling as well, but Sean.
You think people don't test Sean because there's all these rumors out that Sean is a good wrestler, he just never does it? Do you think people just buy into it and don't even want to try? I mean, everything we hear is that Sean can wrestle, he just never does. Do you think that's part of it?
There is a difference between doing it good in training and sparring and doing it in actual competition, because
but nobody seems to try it.
It's the same thing with Justin Gaethje. People say, okay, Justin has this amazing American college wrestling background, but we don't see in his fights. And again, I don't want to say Khabib, because Khabib's like an outlier.
That's not fair.
But even so, Khabib was like, I'm still going to take you down. I'm still going to take you down. And we still need to you should really trust your skill set. And if I'm Costa, if I'm so much bigger than him, even if I'm able just to wear on Sean, just wear on him and level change and kind of really get into top mount, you can do some really good damage there. You know, it like at certain points, like you can't just let the guy literally just pot shot at you, because at that point, next thing you know, it's round 5, you're way down, and you're going to chase the fight. And especially as you're more tired, that kind of leaves you susceptible to getting caught. Because as we saw at the end of round 5, Sean's coming on strong, and he's really catching Costa. Like, he's really laying into him in the final few seconds of the fight. So it was a very impressive win for Sean. He's really kind of cemented himself that he is one of the best middleweights out there now. Like, the win against Izzy wasn't just like a flash in the pan. You know, he put on a fight against Dricus where a lot of people thought that
he might have won. He might have won.
It was that close. And Costa now has looked. Costa now Costa now has hung in there in 2 back-to-back losses. At some point, as popular as he is and how good he could be, he needs to turn those into wins. Yeah, it's just going to be a bit of a mess in terms of what's next for them, because for Sean, he obviously wants to go out there for the belt.
We know he should,
as he deserves it. Yeah. But unfortunately, we know that Whitaker against obviously Hamzat is the next number 1 contender fight, because at this point, everyone knows now the next fight is going to be Dricus against basically Izzy. That's kind of like a foregone conclusion. Just hasn't been announced yet. You know, we got Whitaker against obviously Hamzat. Sean's probably going to fight probably another fight or 2 before he even gets a chance.
He said he was going to wait. He said he was going to sit out and wait his time. I don't know. Okay, question for you then. We know that Sean's in a tough spot. Unfortunately, you know, that Dricus decision kind of looks back now and you're like, damn, we could be getting Sean versus Izzy too. But, you know, I'm Dricus versus Izzy's going to be fun. What does Paulo do? Does he consider moving up to 205 and trying there? It just seems like he's 1-4 in his last 5. Something feels like it has to change with him. And I don't think just going back and being the eraser again, like he used to call himself, and, you know, fighting crazy wild is really going to help. What can he move to 205 and try to be competitive there?
There's a lot. 205 brings a lot of problems for him because the biggest trait for him on 85 is that he's so much bigger than people, and he can. Yeah. And when he's really on form, he can kind of overwhelm people with his power. That kind of gets equaled. That kind of gets leveled out at 205, and especially because if he was to move up, he's going to fight against a top 10 guy. There's a lot of big dudes at 205 who hit harder than him, and that was then a lot of problems for him. And he's shown in back-to-back fights, he has been able to make the weight a lot more comfortably. Like after the whole Vittori mess, when like he didn't even try, made a fight happen at 205 when they were just both bloated up middleweights, essentially. I do feel like him being a bit more eraser-like will probably be better off him, because him being that was where he found his most success. And I feel like with Paulo, like him trying to like contain himself is kind of holding against him, because he doesn't have the technical ability to kind of fight from behind. So I feel like him being a bit more race-like him, whereas he's a bit more, I'm going to charge forward and I'm just going to run you over. With his physical gifts and his skill set in which he has, will probably bode him a little bit better. The problem for him is now he's lost twice now against 2 elite middleweights. He's probably going to have to fight an up-and-comer. I can see him fighting probably like a Brendan Allen next, like a guy who's probably at the front of the queue in terms of the guys who are trying to like break into that upper echelon. So I could see a fight like that happening for him next now.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, let's move on. Main event time. Islam Makhachev beats Dustin Poirier in round 5 with the arse choke. Really impressive fight. Islam had some adversity, handled the adversity, looked good on the feet, looked good on the ground. I thought Dustin was competitive as hell against a guy that everybody knew was most likely going to beat him. He still fought, did a good job on most of the takedowns. That ankle pick is so damn elite. And it was a really good fight, and I thought Dustin had a good showing in what could be his final fight.
So immediately after the fight, and probably the day after, I was just thinking, damn, like Dustin made him work. Like Dustin made him work like across basically all 5 rounds. He kind of humanized Islam a little bit at points when he was able to cut him and blood him up and blood him up. He was up against it. Islam won every round of the fight for me.
Yeah.
But he made Dustin work. Dustin really make him work, especially with those body shots in the clinch.
Those are nice.
That whatever Islam got coached. Islam got close. Dustin was kind of instructed to say, make him pay. Whenever this guy grabs a hold of you, whether he takes you down, you get back up, you avoid takedowns, if he gets you in the clinch, because Islam was very smart in the sense that whenever he would go for a takedown, he wasn't able to get it as if before he got up, immediate clinch to kind of use like the way that he throws up a knee is very, very sneakily good. It's very deceptively good, and Dustin made him work. He already made him earn that win. And coming basically out of the fight, I was just like, damn, like it was just tough for Dustin, like I really felt for him, getting obviously three title fights is very rare. Normally, if you get 4-1, it's probably like your last chance, so to speak. So that was kind of where my mind was until yesterday. And I will probably let you speak more on like Poirier a little bit more, because I want to focus on Makhachev, and it dawned on me how he is unappreciated. And the reason why I say this is that all the talk of him was him as this, okay, he's elite. Every time people talk about the guy, first name that comes up people's minds is probably like Khabib. And it's like, okay, he is Khabib's protege, he's still living under Khabib's shadow, he's an undefeated, he's won the belt, but he's won it against obviously he beat Charles, but he didn't beat a top level lightweight to kind of really get the opportunity for the belt. He defended it twice against like a featherweight, even though that's one of the best fights of all time in Volk. There was a lot of question marks and people doubting him. And, we both said that he needed this fight against Poirier to kind of, even though Poirier is kind of coming towards the end of his career now, Poirier is still one of the elite guys, coming off a good win against Benoit Saint Denis, a legend of the sport, one of the best lightweights that we've ever seen. And we both kind of agreed that Makhachev needed this win to kind of legitimize his reign for a lot of people. And I just want to say, I'm more impressed when a champion is able to overcome adversity and, and really get that gut check, because we've seen Islam dominate people like for so long. A lot of people are saying, well, if Poirier is to win, he has to make it a dogfight. Poirier made it a dogfight, and even then, Makhachev was outstriking him on the feet. I know a lot of that is probably due to the threat of the takedown, but his striking alone is fucking phenomenal. It's so effective, and he was rocking Poirier. He was rocking Poirier, and he was living with him on the feet. In most 90% of those exchanges on the feet, Islam was winning those, and
until the 5th round.
Until obviously a little bit later on, when obviously he was obviously getting cut and whatnot, but like he was dominating most of those fights on the feet. And even then, he wasn't panicking striking, because people were saying, well, he's getting Poirier, like whenever he got Poirier rocked, like he's literally just shooting, he's just going back to type. No, he's using effective grappling, because he knows if he's able to get Poirier down, if he's hurt, he can easily end the fight there.
Yeah.
There is a difference between panicking, striking, panicking, shooting for a takedown, and being effective with it. And that's what he was doing. He was as much as Poirier was making a dogfight and really trying to slow Makachev down. Makachev was wearing on Dustin. There's a reason why, in rounds 3 and 4, when there were times when Dustin would obviously leave his back foot dangling out. He was able to get away because he was a bit more fresh. In round 5, he wasn't, and that's when Islam, that ankle pick is fucking clutch.
Oh my god!
And then, first of all, he takes the back. Cool. Then he switches over towards the DAS, and that's literally all she wrote. For Makachev to come through not a perfect fight for once, not an all dominant win, to go through like the trenches, so to speak. He went into Dustin's world and he shone. And now we have a guy who is in his last 8 fights, set 7 finishes in his last 8 fights. The one fight that went the distance was the first fight against Volk, which is one of the best fights that I've ever seen from a high level technical school basic point of view. If you're at this point now today, still saying that this guy is boring, he's the stereotypical Dagestani wrestling heavy blanket. All he does is shoot for takedowns. He doesn't have any striking point of view towards him. You are not watching this man fight. He is the pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world right now. There's a difference between greatest of all time and pound for pound. We can go into that another time because I could be there all day in terms of difference of what John Jones said, Dana said, whatsoever. This guy's the best fighter currently on form, currently on activity, results. He is now in his last 3 wins. Charles Oliveira, who was at the time top 3 pound for pound, Volk twice, who was the pound for pound number 1, and now Dustin Poirier, who is one of the most elite fighters in his division. That right there is fucking amazing and phenomenal. He will eventually move up to 170. I can see that happening. I feel he needs to fight Arman first. I feel because at this point Arman has kind of deserved it. There is a narrative when Arman's first fight, he fought against Islam. He fought Islam very well. Islam did win the fight, but he
short notice. Yep.
Arman has his chance to. Arman should deserve his chance, especially after beating Charles, to have his chance to obviously right that wrong. If Makachev is able to come through Arman, and he's kind of showing that no one really 155 is on my level, because outside of Arman, there's only really Gaethje, who's obviously coming off a loss, and he's already beaten Charles. He's already beaten Dustin. There's no one else who's kind of joined that pack just yet. And by then, he would have defended the belt 4 times.
Yep.
There is no arguments for him to move up for 170. But I just wanted to give Islam his flowers. I felt for me, a lot of talk was more about Poirier and not enough about how great this guy is, because he is phenomenal. Like, he is absolutely phenomenal.
100%. He deserves that praise that you gave him. Fantastic fighter, the best fighter in the UFC right now. I totally agree. I hope him and Arman get to mix it up, because that is absolutely money. And then hopefully if he beats Arman, moves up to 170, then we get the potential fight between him and Leon Edwards, or if it happens, Bilal, somebody. It's still a big money fight, incredible fight. We saw some chatter here, but would you be interested in Volk versus Dustin?
Yeah, I would. But if Dustin is unsure whether he wants to call it quits or not, and he really said that he doesn't want to. He doesn't really want to fight just for the sake of it. It has to be meaning some sort of meaning to it. If he is to have just one more fight, there's only one fight for him. You do a trilogy with Dustin, with Gaethje.
I do like that. That's fine. But
the only fight that makes sense for him, if he has to have one more fight, because one, from a selfish standpoint of a fan, you already know what you are going to get. You're going to get war. You are going to get war, and it'll be kind of, we've seen Dustin have trilogies like this before with obviously Connor, but the third fight happened. Well, the third fight ended not in a definitive way because Connor broke his leg, even though that was caused by obviously Dustin. But you already know that, if Dustin and Justin have a trilogy, that's basically going to be talked about in history. Like, you're going to talk about, okay, do you know what? 20 years from now, do you remember when Dustin and Justin had those 3 wars?
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, also, I like that a lot.
Both fights, both 1 and 2, ended by finish for basically both guys. You need a definitive. You need the rubber match. So that would probably what I would like to see if this isn't the end. Obviously,
okay, I like that a lot. AJ, we still have got the UFC Fight Night to get into. Let's transition to that. Undercard, Brad Katana's fighting, Andrea Lee, Cody Stamann. There's some good fights on the undercard, but we're going to focus on the main card, AJ. Starting off, we've got Miguel Bezia versus Soriano. What do you see with this one?
Great fight. I mean, it's interesting to see how Soriano looks at 170 because when he was mostly fighting at 185 pounds, he carries a lot of power, but he was a bit undersized in terms of height. Beza is very slick, very rangy, but at times if you're able to close the distance on him and catch him, you're able to put him away, as Chaos Williams did. Soriano is going to come in very aggressive, so he's definitely going to test Beza. Both guys have been stopped before. Both guys carry power, and they're very different in terms of their approach to it on the feet, which the fight is probably going to stay that way. That fight could really get the crowd going in terms of opening up the main card. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to go Soriano because as good as Beza is, there is a blueprint where if you're able to kind of if you're able to close the gap and really getting close on him, and he's vulnerable in getting caught as he kind of exes like his exchanges as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a feeling that Soriano's power is going to carry him well down at 170, and I thought he's going to catch him. I'm going to say round 2 TKO.
Okay, then I'm going to go Beza, just to mix it up with you. Both guys, Soriano's 1-4 in his last 5. Miguel Beza's 2-3 in his last 5. So these guys are looking to get a win and get back in the right way. I'm going to go Beza. You're going Soriano. Next fight on the card at middleweight, we've got Julian Marquez versus Zachary Reese. Zachary Reese is a big 185 at 6'4". Big dude. How do you see this one going down?
So Marquez has kind of been served up here. Like you said, Zachary is a big 185er. Even though he did lose his last fight against Brundage, I believe, all of his last 4 wins have all been by finish, and that kind of says a lot. And
yeah,
Marquez can be got. He can be got. Don't get me wrong. He does have the ability to kind of return firepower back at Reese. I thought this fight is going to be a fun one as well. A little bit. It's going to be a bit more carnage compared to the stylistic matchup of Beza and Soriano. I feel both these guys are going to meet each other in the middle. I'm going to say Reese by submission in round 1.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go with Reese too. I like that pick. I'm not going to go. I'm going to go Reese by decision. Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stolfus. This is a fun one. Bruno Ferreira. Man, it's going to be a tough fight. Who do you got going? Who do you got getting this one?
Oh, um, Bruno's got power, man. He has thunderous power. You know, if he's able to close you down, he will make you pay. He will make you pay. He's very aggressive, very very powerful. Dustin is solid as well. Dustin has a bit more experience. If I'm him, I'll be looking to counter. You know, just making Flores aggressive pay. I'm gonna say because
This is a tough fight.
it is a tough fight. It really is a tough fight. It's just mainly because can Dustin really make him pay? Like that's basically the thing. Because I can see Ferreira literally just from round one, literally just being aggressive and walking him down and really unloading. I don't know if Dustin has the power to really make him pay for that. I'm gonna say Ferreira round one KO. I just have a feeling that he's probably just going to walk him down and just overwhelm him and take
I
him
like
out.
it. I'm going for also. I think he's too much for Dustin. Dustin's kind of struggled against some of the better guys he's fought. Ferreira's in that mix. I'm going to go Ferreira to also win by TKO. Next fight on the card, we got Paul Rojas Jr. versus Ricky Turcios.
Turcios.
Turcios. Is this going to be a tough fight for Rosas Jr.?
It could be. It could be. Turcios is no joke. He is a very good middleweight. He also has the reach advantage as well. So I expect him to kind of fight long to kind of keep Rosas at bay. It really just comes down to how fast Rosas develops with each fight. Because we saw in his last fight, that was probably the best he looked. Came back after his loss. He was a bit more. He's still very aggressive. He's still very ultra aggressive, but he's learned to not just his last fight ended really early, to be fair. But he's kind of you can kind of see that he's kind of learned not just to explode and go for takedowns and go for the finish and kind of wear himself out. Because against more experienced opposition, they're going to be able to ride that storm, as you saw with Christian Rodriguez, who was able to weather that storm and really kind of pot shot him, piece up a little bit, and kind of just take him to school. So Rojas has shown that he does have power. We know his grappling is his wheelhouse. He probably has the advantages there, just in terms of physicality. He's still only 19 as well, so
It's crazy.
So and he's having his third fight within the UFC. If I am Ricky, I want to take it late, take it past round 2, and just hope that Raul's kind of burn himself out a little bit. But I do believe in Rosas a lot. I'm not. It's still early. It's still early to tell in terms of his ceiling and how good he could be. But there's a lot to him that I like. I feel that he will hurt. He will hurt Toshio on the feet, and he'll use that to take him down, and that's when he'll pin him away. I'm seeing round 1 submission.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got Rosas Jr. winning this one by sub also. I just think he kind of overwhelms and gets the victory. I would like to see this go into some of the later rounds. He's kind of, after that loss that he took, I feel like he's kind of rounded into it. He beat up on Mitchell last time. Let's see if he can make another run here, put some wins together, and get back into the mix. So, yeah, I got him by sub also. Next fight, we've got one of the best athletes to ever grace the octagon fighting Dominic Reyes. No. Dustin Jacoby is a freak, though, to be fair. But Dominic Reyes, the former Division III cornerback, steps back into the octagon. Dustin Jacoby. This is a fun fight, in my opinion. I kind of like this matchmaking a lot. Dominic Reyes has not won since he left college. Based on this, he's lost 4 straight. Luckily, he beat Weidman when Weidman was crippled. Yeah. Dominic Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby. I think this was a fun fight. I'm going to be rooting for Dustin Jacoby. Yeah, pretty plain and simple. Dominic Reyes just pisses me off.
Yeah, if you haven't realized by now, Reyes is in Dog's petty fighter list where like he just dislikes him because of obviously dumb shit that he said. You know, that's why he referenced
stuff that's not even relevant. It's not even relevant anymore. It's just I just never got over it.
Reyes' last win was pre-COVID, which kind of says a lot. He came close against John. And since then, it isn't really more the fact that like he's been stopped in every fight since then. It's just more of a sense of the knockouts have been more devastating with obviously each fight. You know, I don't think he fought last year at all. You know, I think he took the whole last year off, which is kind of smart. Just refresh the chin and refresh the brain. You know, give it time. This is a dangerous fight for him because Justin Jacoby is an elite kickboxer. Like he has a very, very established kickboxing background, even just beyond MMA in general. He's kind of been on a few. He's kind of been in impressive form as well recently. This fight's going to play out on the feet. Reyes being a southpaw can also present problems as well for obviously Jacoby. It's just going to come down to can Reyes take a shot if he was to get caught clean? That's essentially what it's going to come down to, because we've seen him get knocked out bad. Like in each of his last 3 or 4 losses.
3 fights. You know, 3 fights. Yeah.
3 fights. So Jan, Yuri, and Ryan Spann, they've all knocked him out pretty badly. And the Spann one was very alarming because he really got hit with a straight that didn't look like it landed all that powerfully, but it put him out. Like he literally spun around and it was completely it was fucking brutal.
Let me say this real quick. I do respect Reyes for getting back in there after his recent run, because, you know, all jokes aside, getting knocked out and put down 3 times in a row like that, and you still want to show up and you still want to fight, I do have a lot of respect for that. So I do say, you know, jokes aside, I do respect him getting back in there and continuing. But like you just said, AJ, when you get touched on that wasn't even Spann's best shot and you're crumbling, I would rethink it. But I do respect him getting back in there after that. I would be extremely worried if I was close to Reyes. I respect the hell out of him getting back in there, but damn, you know?
Yeah, it's just, if he is able to take shots and kind of feel confident in terms of, okay, cool, like I've been here and I'm still here, that can kind of give him confidence, because he's very long, he does have power, and if he's able to land his left hand, he can really, really hurt Jacoby. If I'm also Jacoby, I'm just going to be aggressive. I'm just going to be in his face. Like, I'm just going to really, really put it on him, back him. I'm going to back him up. I'm going to use all the experience I have and really test his chin. If I'm able to crack him early and kind of like wobble him, I'll literally just like be all over him. I do have a good feeling about this fight though.
Yeah.
Round 2 finish for Reyes. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I don't know why. Like I am literally going against form, and that's something that I rarely do. I just have a feeling that he will be able to ride some sort of storm in round one, and then he will able to kind of come forward and catch him with a left. I'm gonna say TKO finish.
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't a biased asshole like I am, I would have picked Reyes to win this fight. But because I am who I am, Dustin Jacoby wins this fight. All right, main event time, AJ. Cannonier versus Amavov. This is fun. This is a good one. This is a nice contender type fight. How do you see this one going down? Amavov lost the Strickland fight where he seemed like he was a little out of his depth, but came back with the no contest against Chris Curtis. Then he beat Dolidze. So what?
Dolidze.
No, yeah, sorry. But getting back in there, Cannonier, he's always right on the cusp of being a title contender. So if he can get the win here, this is a big win over Jared Cannonier. How do you see this one going down?
I mean, it's kind of clear that Imavov has kind of been regarded very highly because they'll be kind of trying to get him to kind of like crack into that top echelon of middleweights for like a while now. Didn't happen against obviously Sean. There's been a few fights that were booked. It kind of didn't really materialize. We know that he is obviously based in France along with Garn in the same team. We kind of feel like build him up as a star to kind of have that kind of French contender. We got Garn, we've got Benoit Saint Denis. Imavov is probably one of those guys that probably have like an eye on for that European market.
La Resistance.
It's gonna. This one's very interesting. This is very intriguing because in terms of skill, I'll give the advantage to Imavov because Imavov is a better grappler and he's a very tidy kickboxer. What Cannonier has advantage is overwhelming power because this is a guy who fought at heavyweight who managed to shred his body all the way down to 185 pounds and still carry the power. He's probably the hardest hitting middleweight that we have right now. We saw in his last fight. Anyone not Marvin Vettori does not make it out of 3 rounds in that fight because he was catching him with some hellacious shots. But Marvin Vettori has one of the best chins that we've ever seen, and crazy power. Like he has legit one punch knockout power. If I am Imavov though, I'm looking to counter and I'm looking to wrestle. I'm just looking to grind on Cannonier and kind of wear him down because that was kind of what Vettori was kind of lurking to do. He was looking to catch Cannonier on the feet in order to go and set up his takedowns. Cannonier is not easy to kind of hold down because he's so physically strong. Imavov needs to be able to avoid power. Like if Cannonier is able to catch him clean, the fight could be over very, very quickly. It could be very, very quickly. Imavov needs to use his movement. He needs to be tidy. I will use a lot of leg kicks, a lot of body kicks, kind of just to slow Cannonier down. If Cannonier does obviously come in close, I'll be looking to counter, and then also to lever change throughout the fight in order to give Cannonier different looks, and again, like I said, to kind of wear him down because to kind of avoid Cannonier's power over 5 rounds is a big ask. It is a massive, massive ask, and if I'm basically Cannonier, I'm gonna have to really. He's gonna have to take center stage in the octagon, control distance, close in, and just unload. This one, I'm very, very intrigued by this. This is a very, very fun fight. Give me in the 3rd round, Cannonier puts him to sleep.
Ooh. Oh. I'm going to go Cannonier also. I think Cannonier beats him earlier than the 3rd. I'm going to go early 2nd round TKO. I just think he's still a little it's just I don't know. I don't know why that Sean Strickland fight sticks in my head so much for Amavov. it just felt like he wasn't there yet. I don't know. I think Cannonier beats him though. I think this is a fun fight. Amavov wins this fight though. Man, he is right in the mix, and this is a big time opportunity for him. So it's a really fun fight. But guys, that's been the UFC Fight Night coverage. We picked all the fights, or all the main card fights. Should be a fun weekend. AJ, there's couple more things we need to talk about before we get out of here, bud.
Cool.
Conor and Chandler. The press conference gets canceled. We're talking about potentially calling off the entire event. What are your thoughts?
I do kind of want to wait until we get a bit more news coming out, because there's a lot of I don't really like to guess and speculate too much. It isn't a good sign. It just isn't a good sign. It's more, as well as I've seen that, on the pay-per-view buying option, it's been taken down apparently, and things like that.
Yep.
If it does get called off, I will kind of reserve my thoughts as what I think about it until we find out why. It is very worrying. It's very worrying when in a sport that's still growing, that it's big, that they fail to capitalize on having a big star perform. Connor's last time Connor fought was 2021, coming off nearly 3 years now. It's very worrying. It's very, very worrying. I know a lot of people have their opinions on him to kind of what he does outside the cage, but when Conor McGregor is actually in the cage, when he's actually in the cage, he has a fight book and he's fighting, it's only better for the sport, because there'll be more eyeballs on it in terms of casual audiences, and it kind of really pushes the sport forward. And it's just a shame that we could potentially be robbed of it, and especially in a very intriguing fight, because there is a lot of questions about him in terms of how he's going to look after his leg break. China hasn't fought in a while as well. Is that 170? It's a shame. I'll just say that it's a shame that this fight that doesn't happen, but I just need to see a bit more details before I can get into that a bit more.
That's fair. I just, it's big news right now. Anything with Conor is obviously big news. I was looking forward to this fight, and I honestly, if this doesn't happen, I feel really bad for Michael Chandler, because he's waited 2 years for this to happen, and now it's potentially not going to happen again. It kind of sucks, but obviously we're going to wait and see if any more news comes out, AJ. Just wanted to touch on it before anything else breaks. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here, though?
Yeah, so just there was a big boxing card on the weekend in Saudi and Riyadh. So there was the Queensby versus Matchroom 535. So you've got Queensby Promotions, Matchroom Promotions, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, two really big promoters in the world of boxing. They each picked 5 fighters against each other in this team format, kind of a bit like Ryder Cup-ish, whereas the draw was 0 points. Mm-hmm. A decision win was 1 point, KO win was 2 points. They both had 2 captains. Whatever the captain won would be double. Queensbury whitewashed it, all of their fighters won. I'll say the stand-up performance was probably Daniel Dubois against Filip Hrgovic, up-and-coming heavyweight, only took 26, had his ups and downs, only lost to Joe Joyce and Usyk. Hrgovic was a top-ranked heavyweight, especially within the IBF, and Dubois he pretty much drowned him. He really put on him, finished him due to damage because he gave him 2 bad cuts underneath both eyes. He's probably going to fight AJ in September. Anthony Joshua, sorry, not me. So that's probably a really big all British, all London versus London. Well, if you class Watford as London affair. And then, but I'll probably say the more big news worldwide was probably Wilder getting iced by Zhang, because that was tough to see against someone who's known throughout his career for being this ferocious puncher whose technical skill was very limited. To see him get iced out like that, like he literally got folded. It's probably time for him to call it quits. So that was rough, but it was a good win for Zhang. So that was a really good boxing card for one. It was the first time where I felt boxing was more interesting than MMA.
Oh wow!
Like it's kind of just showing the good work that Turkey Al Sheikh is doing in Saudi in terms of trying to get rid of all of this promotional, political, like network rivals. It's like, okay, I just want to have the best fights. I have a shit ton of money. I'm gonna put everything all up. The best fighters fight the best. We as fans get good quality fights. For obviously Turkey Al Sheikh, he's able to promote Saudi as this potential great tourist destination, which is kind of what he wants. So it's kind of like a win-win. So far, so good. They're expanding over towards America as well, because they've got Riyadh season in August with Terence Crawford, which has some good fights there as well. And yeah, that's kind of really what I want to touch on. And before we go, you don't want to miss next week. My guy's back. Tatsuya Taro, man. It's his time. Top 5 bound.
Yep. That's going to be good. AJ, had a good time with you, buddy. We'll be back next week. We'll be back next week to break down the Fight Night card and looking forward. Guys, this has been HOA MMA. See you next time.